Welcome to this explainer. Okay, look, you already know the internet is absolutely flooded with get-rich-quick noise, right? And since you're tuning in, you're probably already pretty familiar with the basics of the gig economy. But today, we're cutting right through all that theoretical hype. Instead of treating making money online like some kind of deep mystery, we're going to pop the hood and look at the actual architecture behind 7 proven, sustainable online income paths. If you really want to understand the true mechanics of digital leverage, how to actually create value, and what genuine online career building looks like today, well, you're in exactly the right place. Let's get into it.
To make this super actionable, we're organizing these 7 paths into a neat little roadmap. We've got 5 sections today. First, the online income reality. Then, selling skills and products. Third is content and coaching paths. Fourth, the ultimate asset, trust. And finally, we'll wrap up with a 90-day success blueprint.
All right, section 1, the online income reality, moving past the scams. So ask yourself this burning question. What if realistic online income wasn't a scam? To really understand why the internet is so packed with fake promises, we kind of have to look at human psychology. See, our brains are literally wired for the path of least resistance. We constantly seek shortcuts just to conserve energy. And that little biological glitch, that's exactly why highly intelligent, capable people get trapped in this endless loop of buying those totally useless passive income in 24 hours courses. Scammers know we're programmed to want the reward without the friction. But honestly, when you reframe that friction as the exact thing that builds your business, everything changes. We're constantly being sold this myth of the magic wand, right? You know, the overnight shortcut that requires zero effort and just sells you a dream. But the reality of a sustainable digital business, it looks a whole lot more like a machine. And a machine needs gears. It needs continuous recalibration, and it takes consistent effort to build actual structural leverage. The people actually succeeding out there aren't using magic. They are systematically stacking real, tangible skills over time. Now, sure, it's not glamorous in month 1, but let me tell you, it is practically bulletproof by year 3.
Moving right along to section 2, selling skills and products, focusing on active and passive paths.
So we can basically break this down into 3 core vehicles of leverage. First up is freelancing. And look, this isn't just about doing chores on the internet. This is trading your high-value, specialized skills for immediate, high-margin cash flow. It's your active income engine. Second, we have digital products. This is where the magic happens, and you decouple your time from your income. You engineer an asset just once. Maybe it's a complex software template or a specialized workflow, and then you sell it infinitely with literally zero marginal cost to reproduce it. And third, the massive wild frontier of AI services. Right now, businesses are completely drowning in AI tools that they just do not understand. If you become the human bridge that connects raw AI power to actual business outcomes, you can command an absolute premium in today's market.
But here is exactly where the smartest people tend to stumble. Paralysis by analysis. The market absolutely does not care if your first iteration is a little clunky. The market only cares if your solution solves a real problem for them. You know, there's a famous saying in software development, if you aren't mildly embarrassed by your first product launch, well, you launched way too late. Waiting for perfection is essentially a tax on your potential. A kind of ugly service that solves a burning problem today is going to vastly outperform a pristine, flawless product that takes 3 years to launch and nobody actually wants. You just have to iterate and improve by colliding with the real market. Okay, let's jump into section 3, content and coaching paths, where we talk about audience building. Now, these 3 paths are fundamentally just engines of trust and scale. Let's take affiliate marketing. When it's done right, it isn't about blindly spamming links everywhere. It's about acting as a high-level curator. In an age of infinite information, people will happily pay you through commissions just to filter out the garbage and point them to the exact right tool for the job. YouTube operates pretty similarly. Think of it as the ultimate visual search engine for problem solving. You're capturing intent at massive scale. And finally, coaching. This allows you to monetize the exact hurdles you just cleared yourself. You don't need to be some global guru. You literally just need to be one chapter ahead of the person you're helping, guiding them past the specific roadblocks you've already navigated. 0. I know, it can be a totally terrifying number to look at. But here's the thing. It is the exact starting subscriber count of every single massive creator and business you follow today. We so often forget the immense freedom that exists in 0. When your audience is 0, it means you can experiment, you can fail, and you can pivot rapidly without a massive crowd watching your missteps.
Yes, the timeline to making your first dollar online is always the longest and definitely the most grueling. But once you break past zero, the economics shift entirely. There's this really dangerous myth out there that going viral should be the ultimate goal. But going viral for a random trend or a meme, that can actually ruin your audience. It brings in thousands of people who will never buy your products or care about your core niche. It completely destroys your conversion rates. Real business builders don't want a million random eyeballs, they want 1,000 highly targeted, deeply engaged, true fans. Real success comes from a slow, methodical build where you're consistently solving real problems for a specific demographic week in and week out.
All right, section 4, the ultimate asset, trust, which is all about your personal brand. We hear the phrase personal brand all the time, and we usually just picture influencers taking selfies, right? But if you strip it down to its core economic value, a personal brand is simply a measurement of trust. Trying to convince strangers to buy your service or click your link, what we call cold traffic, is incredibly expensive and just exhausting. But trust? Trust is like gravity. When you build a reputation for being genuinely useful, you lower your customer acquisition cost to literally zero. Opportunities, clients, sales, they just begin to effortlessly gravitate towards you because your past body of work is doing all the selling for you before you ever even speak to them.
And finally, Section 5, the 90 Days Success Blueprint, your action plan.
In any new endeavor, there's something known as the Valley of Disappointment. This is that brutal phase where your massive amount of effort just does not yet equal your visible results. Most beginners hit this valley, they assume the whole system is broken, and they quit. But strategically speaking, this valley of disappointment is actually your greatest asset. It acts in a massive moat that aggressively filters out all your uncommitted competition. Think about it. If building a digital income were easy and instantaneous, the profit margins would quickly drop to zero. The friction is exactly what makes it valuable.
So, how do you actually survive that valley? Well, just follow this exact blueprint for the next 90 days. Number 1, choose just one high-leverage skill. Kill the shiny object syndrome and just commit entirely. Number 2, create one highly useful piece of content or project every single week using that skill. And number 3, leverage the staggering math of compounding. Aim to make each project just 1% better than the last one. Over 12 weeks, those micro-improvements mathematically compound into an entirely new tier of quality. Stop looking at your competitors and only measure your output against the person you were last month. I'll leave you with this final thought today. Algorithms are going to change, platforms will rise and fall, and trends will die out. But the underlying mechanics of value creation, those never change. Hard skills can earn you immediate income, but relentless consistency is what actually builds a sovereign career. The leverage is sitting right there in front of you. So looking at the architecture of the paths we just outlined today, which of these 7 paths will you commit to, and what skill are you going to start mastering today?